This is Mr. Kumalo CS. Today's video, I'm going to show you the purification of copper. Refining of impure copper to pure copper. Right, so in this cell, you will need to understand that the impure copper, you put it on the positive side of the battery, as you can see there, on the positive side, okay? The pure copper, you put it on the negative side of the battery, right? And remember again, the solution here, since you are doing the purification of copper, the solution here, it have to be the solution of copper sulfate, SO4, right? In the sense that, you know, we have got a lot of what? You have got a lot of Cu2 plus ions and SO4 2 minus ions in the solution. Okay, so now let's look at the process now. Okay, we all know that there are electrons in this impure, and also there are okay, the battery is going to do the work here. The battery is going to pull those electrons out of the impure copper, and the electrons will move in this type of direction. They'll move like this, pass through the battery, move like that, like that, like that, up until they get to the pure copper, which is this one. Okay, so now we all know that when the electrons are pulled out of the battery, there will be Cu ions deposited into the solution. There will be always going to be Cu ions deposited into the solution. Cu ions deposited into the solution. Again, you need to understand that those Cu ions are the very same ions that are going to go and take those electrons. This ion is going to go and take that electron. That ion is going to go and take that electron. After receiving those electrons, those Cu will change into solid, and then you'll find them now sticking to the pure copper. And there's one thing that you're going to see. The mass of this pure copper will increase, because why? The Cu ions are busy receiving electrons and sticking or adding mass into this plate, so it will increase in mass. So I think that's something that you need to know. So of course what we are saying is that the mass of the pure will increase. Now on the positive side, the mass of the impure will decrease, since it is losing electron and the ions are being deposited into the solution. Okay, right. So of course we know that on the positive we have got anode, since the electrons are being lost. We know that we have got our friend, which is Leo. On the negative we have got our cathode, because we know electrons are being gained, and we've got our friend, which is called Jerry. Okay, again you need to understand that the concentration of the container remains constant. Why? Because the rate of oxidation is equal to rate of reduction. I think that is very, very important, something that you need to understand. Okay, So now let's look at half reactions that are taking place here. Before we do the half reactions, remember this was impure copper on the positive side. So when the electrons are lost and the ions are deposited to the solution, there is something that is going to fall off again. This is called a sludge. You'll see something piling up down there or at the bottom of the container, and that thing is those impurities that were around the impure copper, or that impure thing which is not copper. Okay, so this thing that is going to form at the bottom of the container is called a sludge. Right, it's a sludge. Okay, so now let's look at those half reactions that are taking place. Our half reactions half reactions, we all know that you've got the oxidation part, where we talk about the loss of electrons, and in this case it's going to be the copper solid losing electrons to become, or depositing copper ions into the solution, and we can see those 2 electrons being lost. And then on the reduction, we're going to have copper ions from the solution receiving those 2 electrons and changing to become copper solid. That is our 2 half reactions that is taking place. And yes, this is the purification of copper. That is purification of copper. So nothing much, nothing special. It's all about understanding that the impure copper, you put it on the positive, the pure copper, you put it on the negative, because the impure one must lose electrons. And when it loses electrons, the copper ions are going to be deposited to the solution, and those copper ions are going to go and receive those electrons on the what? On the negative terminal. And by doing so, they will gain and they will stick and become solid. And that pure copper will keep increasing in mass.